Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. Today we're on part 19 of 30 on my 30-part series based on my book, Blue Collar Leadership and Culture, the 5 components for building high-performance teams. And today we're still on the unifying purpose component of the transformation equation, the third component. And chapter 19 is titled, Clarify the Unifying Purpose. The subtitle is The Leader's Responsibility is to Cast the Vision and Determine the Mission. That's the leader's responsibility. Always to cast the vision and determine the mission. And again, if you want everyone rowing in the same direction, you got to cast that vision and mission out to everyone. So I want to share with you a quote from my personal friend and mentor. You've heard me talk about him before, Mr. Jimmy Collins. He retired after basically 33 years as president and COO of Chick-fil-A. And so this, the unifying purpose, that's Jimmy's actually where I first picked up that term. Jimmy wrote about it, talked to me about it, unifying purpose. So I want to read you a quote from Jimmy. Jimmy says, "Followers choose to follow a leader with a compelling purpose, vision, cause, or goal, the unifying purpose. It is the leader's unifying purpose that attracts the interest and loyalty of followers. The leader is someone who is able to communicate unifying purpose in a manner that is inspiring, persuasive, or motivating. The unifying purpose joins the followers to the leader." And again, those are the words from Jimmy Collins, former COO and president of Chick-fil-A. And they've got the perfect, if you're familiar with Chick-fil-A and you've been in their restaurants and you've eaten there and you actually have visited them enough to understand how they operate compared to a lot of their competition, completely different. Completely different. And if you've read any of the books by Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, or any books by Jimmy Collins, or any of the people who work at Chick-fil-A, a lot of people have written books that work at Chick-fil-A in the corporate headquarters. And so if you read any of those books, you start to understand who they are, how they are, what makes them different. But clearly identifying the unifying purpose and then casting that vision and mission out to the people, all the people, and modeling it, it's the foundation for what Chick-fil-A has been able to do. But it's the foundation for any organization who wants to become a high performance organization with a high impact team. And again, if you don't know a lot about Chick-fil-A, they're a fast food restaurant. They provide, their staple is Chick-fil-A sandwiches, chicken breast sandwiches. You may be listening from another country and have never even heard of Chick-fil-A. I know if you listening in the U.S., you may be very familiar with them, but I think my podcast gets listened to in somewhere around 130 or 140 countries around the world. So a lot of people never have heard of it at all, but they have excellent service. Their organization is very clean. They have high quality food. Their service is quick. If they make a mistake, they make it right. They don't blame the customers. They help people. But if you truly know who they are and what they're about, Truett Cathy said it from beginning to end. They're in the people development business. they use their fast food restaurant to grow and develop people. And as a result, those people respond, like I mentioned last time, they have high morale, high loyalty, high productivity, all the things you need in a high performance organization. But the purpose of Chick-fil-A is to grow and develop people. Everybody there knows that. They live it out, their values. It's not something written on the wall. It is written on the wall, but values on the wall is not what transform an organization or create a high-performance team. It's values within people. What's on the inside of people who work in the organization is what determines the culture of an organization. Not values written on a wall or values written in an employee handbook. It's the values inside the people within the organization. And again, the top level leader, we talked about that early on, part 2 of this 30-part series. I talked about the foundation of culture, the top leader's values. Not what the top leader says the values are, what they are. They should be in alignment, but sometimes what the top leader says they value and what their behavior, actions actually say they value are two completely different things. And I'm sure, regardless of where you are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So as a leader, as you cast the vision and you define the mission, you'll eliminate confusion by helping others understand your motive and your agenda. See, everyone in Chick-fil-A understands Truett, Kathy. Now Truett's passed away, his son Dan, Kathy. Everyone within the organization understands their motive and agenda. They're not kept in the dark. They know what the mission is. They were a client of ours, I mentioned, for 3 years. We helped some of the stores, the individual stores. We were not supporting the corporate headquarters, but we were supporting what they call the operator. The some people would call it like a franchise, the owner of the store who operates the store. They're called operators because Chick-fil-A actually still owns the store, the way I understand it. So we're helping them, but everybody from corporate through the stores, through the supply chain, everyone understand the motive and agenda of Chick-fil-A is to grow and develop people, serve the people on their team, serve the customers, serve the suppliers, serve everyone in a positive way. So I've kind of mentioned this before, but I want to make sure I clarify it here because this chapter is clarify the unifying purpose. So I want to clarify the purpose of this book one more time for you. So beyond being a resource for you personally, as a leader, as a high impact leader, high up in the org chart at the moment, or someone who aspires to be at some point, if you aspire, if you have something in you, you know in the future you want to climb the corporate ladder, you want to climb the organizational chart, you want to do more, have more, be more, you want to grow from the position you're in now, and you want to become a former leader at the next level and a former leader at the next level. You can see yourself being up at the top one day, or you can see yourself owning your own company. Doesn't matter when you get there, you need to know what's in this book so you'll know where you're going, right? The vision and the mission, what it's going to look like when you get there, what it ought to look like where you're at now, so you can start learning from the good leaders and learning also from the bad leaders, learning what not to do, what you wouldn't want in your organization or on your team. But again, Blue Collar Leadership and Culture, this book, besides being a resource for you personally, it also has a second purpose, and I've touched on it. Leaders can use it to establish and clarify the unifying purpose relative to cultural transformation. A leader may decide, I want to transform the culture, but they don't really know how to do it. They need to read this book, absolutely. But they also need to do book studies with their leadership team at the top, without a doubt. But a truly high-impact leader that truly understands this book, you got to do it with everybody at every level so everybody can start rowing in the same direction. And maybe you need to be humble. Say, I don't even know how to do this, but I'm going to use this book as a guide, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to study this book and whatever other books we need to study. We're going to go make it happen. So that's the second use of this book. Use it to actually clarify the purpose around cultural transformation. That's what our best clients do. So this book does contain some high-level leadership principles, but it's not really a leadership development book. Although in a sense it kind of is, because it's developing the top-level leader, helping them become a transformational leader, understand how to transform the culture. But it's meant to prepare leaders for the cultural journey that lies ahead as they attempt to raise awareness, cast a vision, and generate buy-in. I want to share a quote with you from D. Hawk. This is the quote. Simple, clear purpose and principles give rise to complex and intelligent behavior. Complex rules and regulations give rise to simple and stupid behavior. I just love that quote because it's so true. Think about it again. Simple, clear purpose and principles give rise to complex and intelligent behavior. Complex and intelligent behavior. That's a high-performance team. You get there with simple, clear purpose and principles. But then the second half of that quote was complex rules and regulations give rise to simple and stupid behavior. You've probably seen it. I've seen it. People do some stupid stuff. And then you find out why, because it's a rule or regulation. Common sense would say you don't do that at this moment. A lot of times you've been in situations where you may understand that's a rule or regulation, but at this moment you don't need to follow it, kind of thing. But if you got a low impact, insecure leader, if you want to work there, you kind of have to follow the rules. So sometimes those complex rules and regulations cause you to do stupid things because they don't allow you freedom to do the right thing. Anyway, I just want to share that quote with you. So when all formal leaders are aligned and aware of what they're doing and why they're doing it, they'll be prepared to help you cast the vision. So I'm saying you as in the top leader. If you're the top leader, when all the formal authority leaders at every level below you in the org chart are aligned and aware what you're doing and why you're doing it, they're going to be prepared to help you cast the vision. That's why the top leader doesn't need to be the only one that reads this book. They need to read it, but then they need to share it with everybody they want to help row in the same direction, based on that quote I shared with you last time. So when the questions start coming in from all directions, as word about the change and cultural transformation starts spreading, they can help you generate buy-in. When everybody understands the unifying purpose, when they start getting bombarded with questions about the cultural transformation, they're going to be able to provide good answers if they've been included, if they've not been kept in the dark. If they've been kept in the dark, when they start getting asked questions, they're going to do what a lot of insecure leaders do. They start making up answers. They start guessing. They may not be guessing thinking they're wrong. They're guessing thinking they're right, but they still may absolutely be wrong because they don't know. That's why high impact leaders at the top have to clarify the unifying purpose. So I want to share with you a quote now by Andy Stanley. So this is the quote. Leaders provide a mental picture of a preferred future and then ask people to follow them there. Leaders require those around them to abandon the known and embrace the unknown with no guarantee of success. As leaders, we are asking men and women not only to follow us to a place they have never been before, we are asking them to follow us to a place we have never been before either. That takes guts. That takes nerve. That takes courage. Those are the words from Andy Stanley. You know, when I read that, when I read it the first time, when I read it and added it to the book, and I want to share it with you today, leaders provide a mental picture of a preferred future. And everything I see in the context of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Number 1 book I've ever read in my life, the most impactful book on my life, personally and professionally. But when I read that quote, actually when I read anything, I see it within the framework of the 7 habits. But that's habit 2. Unifying purpose, clarifying the unifying purpose. Andy Stanley's quote right there, it's all about habit 2. Habit 2 is beginning with the end in mind. That's why you want to clarify the unifying purpose. Begin with the end in mind. Help everybody understand where we're going before we start going. And again, just as Andy Stanley said in that quote, you may be going somewhere you've never been. They may have never been. You may have never been. I've spoken to conferences where leaders come up to me, business owners. They've never done anything like this. But they bought into my message, and they bought into the principles. And they say, hey, I want to do this at my organization. I want to do this in my company. So they're inviting me to come in and lead them to a place they've never been. They still can understand and clarify the unifying purpose. Again, this book helps them do that. But you don't have to know, you don't have to have been where you're going to cast a vision. When we say we were going to the moon, everybody understood when we said we're going to the moon, but we had never been. Now we say we're going to Mars. Everybody understands what that means. We haven't never done it. And we don't fully understand what that means until we actually figure out how to get there. Until we land on Mars, we don't understand what it takes to get to Mars. But you can still know where you're going. You can cast a vision. Same thing with cultural transformation. When a leader comes in a room with me or a room with someone else, and they figure out, hey, I need to go transform my culture. I figured out the root cause is me and my values, and I need to change them, and I'm willing to change them. And I don't know exactly how we're going to get there, but I know where we want to go. Like Andy said, it takes guts. It takes nerve. It takes courage. It takes trust. It takes determination. It takes resilience. It takes perseverance. It takes a lot of things to do what I've been talking to you about so far. So we've been through the transformation equation. We've been through the first 3 components. We've been through leadership development. We've been through buy-in. And now I've been through unifying purpose. So in the next episode, now we're going to move into the 4th component in the transformation equation, which is competency. I'm going to talk to you about how do you do it? How do you transform the culture? You've got to have the competency to do it. What I'm talking about is the competency to transform the culture, not the competency to provide the service or the competency to produce the product. I'm talking about building high performance teams. How do you do it? So that's what there's going to be a lot of episodes on how do you do it. And I'm going to talk about individual things relative to people development that you can do as you move forward. And I'll reference different types of content that can help you do that. Some of our content. And I've shared some of it with you in other episodes. So I want to leave you today with a quote from John Maxwell. He says, if you make the purpose of your organization to champion, teach, practice, coach, and reward leadership, then people will want to become good leaders. They will strive to help others become good leaders. And the potential of the organization to fulfill its vision will explode. That's what we're talking about relative to this book, this series. Again, it's a roadmap. It's a guide. Why do you do it? How do you do it? What do you do? All in here. Again, all it's going to do is lead you to do a whole lot of other stuff that's not in here. All right? Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.